Episode 89, Out of This World, the Hyperspace Challenge. Our young people left over the moon. Their minds are realizing there are going to be so many opportunities for them to work in outer space, to pursue careers in outer space. It was incredibly exciting.
Welcome, fellow STEM enthusiasts, to the STEM Southwest podcast. Your source for all things science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. This podcast is designed to create STEM connections, cohesion, and elevation. This is a place where STEM enthusiasts gather to learn about some amazing STEM rock stars and activities of the Southwest and beyond that are impacting the world. If you have longed to be united with your fellow STEM nerds, then you've found your people here at STEM Southwest. And now, here are your hosts, Bob and Shelley.
Hey there, STEM Southwest fans and rock stars. I am back. It's 2023. Where has the time gone? We are talking about Hyperdrive Space Summit. Say that 3 times fast. Anyway, I know it's been a while. You've probably been missing Bob and I. You notice he's not here. I had BB-8 stand in for Bob today. Up on this episode, you're going to find out that there is space for everyone in outer space through a whole series of live interviews. So you're going to have to forgive me for some of the bad camera angles, some of the bad audio, some of the people that were passing in the hallways talking really loud. Whatever it is, I'm just inviting you. We've got a series of various length interviews here today. We're going to start off with one of the longer ones, but one of the ones with my favorite company that came to town, Rogue Space Systems, and Mr. Jeremy Grimmett and his staff, including Dan and his lovely wife. And we're going to talk to them. We're going to talk to people from that are doing PR for outer space. We are going to talk, like, for instance, Meredith Ingram with 66 & Co. We're going to talk with a gentleman from Johns Hopkins doing research in the lab of Dr. Gregory Falco. We're going to talk to Smart Cone and Jason there, Stephen Wood, who is an attorney for space, a space lawyer, Melissa Ortiz, who specializes in tech transfer, and Brad Berkinson, who's the CEO of Miles Space. And so a whole collection of amazing people who came to town for this event in November. But it's something that I'm super proud of because we've never done a live show before. And, well, recorded live. I don't know that it counts as a live show, but it was live in November. You're just hearing it now because it required a lot of editing. And frankly, between the holidays and opportunities that have been popping up, Bob and I have been busier than ever. Don't ever think they are going to be empty nesters that are sitting some quiet, dull life. We are out there. I've been up at our state legislative session, of course, lobbying for STEM and space and all kinds of important things. Even this morning, I spoke up and they heard my voice about the importance of taking taxes off of diapers, supporting community. And that's what I love about this Hyperdrive Space Summit. It was a community. We got to start it off, and I didn't even get to interview any of the CNM folks that were part of this amazing event. So I'm going to put links to them in the show notes, but I want you to know that without people like Kathy Steen and the staff at CNM Ingenuity, this wouldn't have happened. I was invited to help build not only the community that Jeremy Grimmett is going to talk a lot about in his interview, but to bring youth into that community. So I was so excited to bring 20 of our students into the community, and the students were actually the icebreaker. Aren't you tired of all those typical old icebreakers of going around the room, sharing your name and one interesting thing about yourself? Well, this was the fantastic part. The young people were involved in the icebreaker because we were working on building community. So we started off with this initial activity keynote that involved these 20 students. And I am happy to report that through the evaluation process, we've heard back that the 150 or so people in attendance at the event, the top thing that they got the most out of was our community building icebreaker at the beginning, where they got to sit face to face with our young people, ask questions, have dialogue, and then our young people left just over the moon. Whether they were 100 kilometers above Earth or not, I don't know. Were they in outer space? But their minds are realizing that there are going to be so many opportunities for them to work in outer space, to pursue careers in outer space. It was incredibly exciting and so rewarding. And so more on that later. But if you are a business running some sort of an event and you want to do something creative like that, involve young people who are already interested in STEM careers in a discussion, I think that that's really an important way to reach out, to create this community through, as Jeremy talks about, building community through purpose-driven innovation, great ideas coming from anywhere. That's why it was so important to involve our youth. And so thanks again to the folks at the Hyperdrive Space Summit, to AFRL, to CNM Ingenuity, and to everyone who made it happen, who welcomed students to the table. Let's not delay. We're going to jump right in and hear what people have to say.
My name is Meredith Ingram, and I'm the CEO and founder of a public relations and communications agency called 66 & Company. We specialize in technology and finance with a real focus on supporting venture capital and space. And the space sector for us has been a growing part of our client base, and we're really enjoying the sector from a content perspective and from a growth perspective as well. We've been working with the Air Force Research Lab and in support of the Hyperspace Challenge since late 2018, early 2019. And through that work, we've met numerous space startups and are now expanding that practice. So it's been really exciting and really fun for us. And I think intellectually challenging, interesting, and creative.
There's so many things happening as we were discussing the innovation and wow, you've got your work cut out for you because translating that tech speak into real words that people can understand and digest. That's a pretty big job.
It is. And I think it was really interesting at this morning's panel when one of the panelists was talking about, and of course that was comprised of venture capitalists, and one of the VCs was talking about the fact that even he has trouble understanding some of these deep tech concepts, and I think that that's something that we always try to emphasize to clients, that there is a need to use plain English. Explain it in the way that your mother could understand, even for stakeholders that you think should have an understanding of your sector.
Right. Yes, absolutely. Fantastic. Okay, and your partner in crime here.
I am the partner.
That's exactly what you are.
So my name is Meredith Schweitzer. I'm the VP of Accounts for 66 & Co., the agency that Meredith is the founder of. And I've been with the agency for about a year. I have a background in cultural nonprofits and in public programs and PR and marketing in that capacity. And so it's been an adventure to be pulled into a community of tech and startups that has a really interesting overlap in terms of like the way we need to be doing storytelling and the way we need to be connecting humanity and the tech that's evolving out of these companies in a way that actually connects and resonates with audiences. So
Fantastic. Well, again, your partnership, I think so much value there for the industry to be able to communicate ideas and thoughts and put those into a package that others can understand and take advantage of, right? So what's one thing that you feel like you're going to be walking away from this experience? Obviously, for some of these tech companies, it's about getting in touch, starting relationship with a VC or some other investor or someone who might buy their product. You're here in a little different circumstance, and for our audience, you can hear people in the background. It's because we're switching sessions and people are moving, and we're
it's
in the
lively.
thick of it all. It is a live show today, and it is lively. So what's that for each of you?
I think for me, what has been reinforced really clearly through the workshopping and the panels and the one-on-ones is that the base of all of this is relationships. It's really like breaking down those silos, breaking down those conversations that maybe you've been having on one side with technologists versus one side of, funders or researchers, and sort of the magic sauce of Hyperspace Challenge and the other accelerators that are here in this environment is like putting people together in a way that actually accelerates, like the basis of an accelerator, that it actually like moves things forward faster. And you can see it just in the conversations that people are having in the hallway and, in the panels and across all of the sessions. So I think that relationship capacity that is possible in this sector is a takeaway that's, I think, really interesting and is sitting with me in a way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would agree with that. And I think that one of the things that we find the most exciting about the space community is that not only do you have these kind of different, it's comprised of different communities, whether that's government or finance or commercial. And sometimes it even extends beyond that. So there's a sense of fragmentation to it, especially given how each of those different communities communicates. There's also a real motivation for everybody to collaborate at the same time. And I love that. You don't always see that in communities, in the business landscape, where you've got these groups that are really motivated. And so for us, I think the most exciting thing for me coming out of this event has been the fact that for the Hyperspace Challenge, we're actually working on building a digital community. And we've been able to, I think there's been a lot of capacity building that's happened while we're here that was organic, that we really didn't expect to encounter. A lot of enthusiasm for the work that we're doing to try to build this community from, some really disparate groups. We've unearthed some resources we didn't expect, and a lot of support that we didn't expect to have. And I think the hope is really that we're able to kind of coalesce all of these different groups into a community that hopefully can be kind of the definitive online community for the entire industry across the nation. And then for us, of course, I think it's exciting to see that that's being led from New Mexico. So,
yes.
Also, just building on that, I think the fact that we're coming out of a few years where we couldn't physically get together and have the conversations in the hallways and that sort of thing, that there's a hunger for connecting that you could really feel here at the Space Summit, at the Hyperspace Space Summit, that what I think is going to be really interesting to see as we start to build out a digital community is how that in real life, that IRL interaction like translates to a digital extension and then is a feedback loop to opportunities for people to get together in person again. So I think that the timing of what we're doing with Hyperspace Challenge and of sort of pushing the boundaries of what a digital community can do, the timing is right for it because there is this balance of knowing how to navigate digital experiences, but having that hunger for in-person movement,
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. Thank you both for stopping by.
Thanks for having us.
And sharing a little bit about your story, the STEM Southwest podcast. And we look forward to watching things take off in that digital community that you're creating.
Thank you. We'll
Thank you.
keep you
Thanks for having
updated.
us.
Yeah, thank you.
Jihu and Kim, it's so exciting to have you here today. Why don't you tell me a little bit about what brings you to the Hyperspace Challenge and who you're representing?
Yeah, so I am from Johns Hopkins University. I'm a third-year undergraduate at Hopkins. And I'm here from my research lab, which is called the Aerospace Adversary, led by Dr. Gregory Falco. And we are focused on creating resilient systems for space infrastructure. And yeah, Dr. Falco brought me here so I could learn a bit more about how the space industry is working right now, how all the startups are going crazy together, and yeah, how I can go ahead and network and learn more about these space startups.
So tell me then, what's been one of your greatest takeaway from this 2-day event?
Yeah, I mean, the greatest takeaway is not gonna lie, I just started learning about the space industry. I was basically just a computer science major until I found Dr. Falco's lab. And it's been amazing to see the amount of startups, the amount of buzz that's going around in the space industry, and to see all these startups and all these CEOs and to network with them and talk with them through their ideas and what they see in the future of the space industry is just really inspiring.
Absolutely. Okay. Well, thank you for your time today. And there's space for everybody in space, right?
Yep.
Fantastic. So computer science major, Johns Hopkins, what do you think your future will bring?
My future, I love to specialize in somewhere in the AI and the ML industry. And yeah, I wish to revolutionize ML and give it practical applications, not beyond just research, to the general public. And I think space is also a great application for that as well.
Exciting future. Mm-hmm. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
So SmartCone is a technology ecosystem. So we have hardware and software. We do system integration between our own technology, third-party technologies, to enable a positive impact for organizations.
Give some real-world example if you can.
A real-world example would be that the power of our multi-use system would be, let's say, for example, forklift safety in a warehouse, while it's doing inventory tracking at the same time with mixed autonomous and people on the same floor at the same time, which is a lot of things to handle at once. So typically, an organization to do that would have 4 or 5 different disparate systems.
Right.
And they'd have to integrate them, which is expensive and takes a long time. Well, SmartCone takes care of all the integration, all the orchestration between all those different use cases in a simple platform that we deploy and companies can integrate with. So it saves a lot of time, a lot of money. So, for example, we put RFID on a forklift, so every time it touches a box, we read an RFID tag and we track it with an indoor positioning system, at the same time creating a proximity around the forklift to notify people when they may be in danger so they stay away. It all gets orchestrated really well and really easily. That's one example. Another example is using a similar scenario in mining, helping vehicles move up and down different shifts, or drifts they're called in mining, to identify rock types, materials, humidity, temperature. Another example would be that this is all the same technology, by the way.
Right.
It gets deployed at places like ESPN to track heat stress for athletes as they're running around doing different things. So again, it's just all plug in one little sensor like your mouse, how your mouse is in your computer, right? You plug a different sensor in our ecosystem and the use case changes completely. But then you can plug multiple technologies in to do multiple use cases at the same time. It's a difficult story, but when you see it in action, it's simple.
Right. Right. I think that's the beauty of so much technology,
It is.
right? That the successful tech is allowing us to track so much data and information and create safety opportunities, right? Identify those things. So
yeah. So what is exactly when we try to describe what SmartCone is in a 30-second statement is so hard. It's equivalent of taking your laptop computer back to the 1700s and describing to somebody what it does. It's like, well, what can you do with a computer? Homework, calculations, track this. You could program something. It's limitless what you can do.
Right.
So we took a computer, we put it in a device, we use the same kind of peripheral, and you can do whatever you want, just like you do with a computer. to describe what a computer does is actually a really hard thing to somebody who's never seen a computer.
Absolutely.
So it's a challenge. It is a challenge. So we end up demonstrating. We just build something, and then now we have Disney as a client who sees that, well, everybody should deploy a smart code. I mean, it makes it so easy and so cost effective, and the data is so valuable. This is what everybody should do.
Right.
Okay. It's really hard to tell the story, though.
Well, I think you've done a great job, and I know that
that.
our audience is going to be able to understand that much greater. Tell me, Jason, what's one thing that you're going to take away from this experience the last 2 days here at the summit that is going to impact the work that you do?
So we came down in 2019, and we were the first winner of IoT technology in the Hyperspace Challenge. It was all about the next mission to the moon, and the economic impact of space wasn't really a topic yet. It was almost in the periphery. And now Hyperdrive, which is really good because you're driving business, is so cool, that this is now all about the business side of space, which is really exciting. And where my company benefits from is the business side of space, because we are an enabling technology. So it excites me to see that, to go, wow, now we can talk use cases and demonstrate the capabilities. And then the world is getting educated on the value and the business opportunity in space. And I'm taking away now from this trip here that we're getting really close to having good businesses in space, which is exciting because it is the future.
Absolutely. Well, I think you're a great example, Jason, of this. In this morning's panel, they were talking about, don't just think about deploying your technology in space, but be selling and deploying that technology here on Earth and creating proof of concept, creating opportunities to be able to show people what some of the possibilities are.
Yeah.
So
they told us in 2019, you should also be doing mining, because mining and space are very similar from the corrosion and the robustness that you need. And of course, there's differences for sure.
Right.
But so we did. We went and got mining certified. Now we have some mining projects, and it's great. And so, I think you're right that sustainability for a company like mine means you need to have your hands in a lot of things, but we don't want to lose focus on the fact that space is a great opportunity.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you very much. Have a good day.
All right. Well, welcome to STEM Southwest Podcast. We are so glad to have you.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, we are here at the Hyperdrive Space Summit. You think I'd get that right?
Well, and it's kind of indeed, but it's also it's adjunct to the Hyperspace Challenge funded by Space Flight Vehicles Directorate. So there's a lot of space and a lot of exactly.
Lots of. Anyway, why don't you share your name and tell us a little bit about what brings you here, who you're representing?
Sure thing. So my name is Stephen Wood. In terms of who I represent, I wear quite a few different hats, honestly. So I participated in the Hyperspace Challenge fall cohort 2021, and we were the second place winners as on the academic side, SUNY Polytechnic Institute. A wonderful program, and it helped us get interviews with very relevant folks at Spaceflight Vehicles Directorate who helped us look at our technology with different perspective, maybe more appropriate perspective from a commercialization standpoint. And so that was incredibly useful and helpful. In addition, I'm a patent attorney and a space lawyer. And so you may have heard some of my questions throughout the program kind of directed to the intersection of IP law and space law and some of those unintuitive consequences. And so in that capacity, I'm working with a Dallas, Austin firm, Vela Wood. I am not the named partner. That is my brother, Radney Wood. So a bunch of different hats. Also, through Hyperspace Challenge and subsequent, I'll give a quick plug, National Security Innovation Network Foundry Program and the Hustle Defense Accelerator out of Rome Air Force Research Labs in upstate New York.
Okay.
with those programs, actually formed a company that we call Sentient Technologies because it's a play on sentient, and it is an AI hardware technology, third generation spiking neural network. The basic play there, the advantages are that we can do conventional AI neural network functions and computations with about 1,000 times less power and 100 times fewer neurons in the system. And this is in custom hardware.
Fantastic. So representing a lot of different interests.
Yes.
A lot of, I feel like a kindred spirit there. Someone said to me this morning, "Oh, you have so many different brands." I'm like, well, yeah, but that keeps life interesting.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
I can also, as you're asking all these questions, I can absolutely relate. I'm married to an attorney, although he's not a patent attorney, but very used to all that deep thinking and, hey, what
fine nuance
are we doing? Yes, the fine nuance. That's a really good way to put it.
Cheers.
But what are we thinking of here? So tell me, now that we know a little bit about you and what you do or are working on, share a little bit about what are you getting out of the past 2 days, and what's maybe one nugget that you're taking with you.
Absolutely. Well, I think I think the past few days have really been quite a lot about that essential entrepreneurial spirit that is so often embodied in the phrase creative collisions. And so just meeting and networking. Honestly, a lot of folks who I participated in that virtual cohort with last fall for the first time in person, but also new friends and colleagues. And I have to say, this program has done an excellent job of bringing a lot of diverse potential investors to the table. And the speed networking that we just did with all of those venture capitalists, family offices, angel type investors, just top notch. And tremendous opportunities that Hyperdrive has brought to the table for all of us prior cohort participants. And yes, incredible program, and have been just having the greatest time. Thank you.
Awesome. So you, in your introduction, you talked about the program up in upstate New York, right? Mm-hmm. It sounds like you're not a stranger to a lot of these programs that are building up entrepreneurs and launching programs, businesses, and that. A critical piece of that is partnering or finding those correlations with capital.
Absolutely.
Whether it's through angel investors or venture capitalists or government contract or whatever, a rich brother, who knows, right?
100.
Whatever that is. So what have you noticed about that in terms of building on the question that you just answered for me? Have you noticed or heard others? What are they saying? Are deals being made? I'm curious to know.
Well, they encouraged us, that with the speed networking with the investors, it's really not the time to expect a check to be cut, but it's really about the relationship building. Right. And absolutely agree. That is key because you get so much more out of that warm connection and contact typically than cold calling. And so to have the opportunity to start to build those relationships for future funding opportunities is just really incredible.
So my name is Brad Berkson. I went to Corrales Elementary before it was changed to whatever it's called now. I was the first class at Cibola High School as a freshman, and moved out of the area in high school and come back to see my family, but have a lot of love for the area and the place, and native New Mexican. And so when I go places, I'm very unique in that respect. So it's a very interesting background to have.
Yeah,
everybody's interested by people.
505 with you.
Yeah, everybody's interested in New Mexico. Half of them still think you're from the country south of the border, but
yes, we're getting past that little by little, I feel like.
Yeah, maybe with the people in the West, but people in the East, not really.
Still not so much. Well, tell me a little bit about what you do and what brings you here.
Right now, I am the CEO of a company called Miles Space, and Miles makes a in-space propulsion unit that's used to move satellites and spacecraft around once they reach orbit. It uses electrical forces and water as a fuel to propel spacecraft, satellites, etc. And it was created using a very new way, using a software engineer who was great at AI and had passion for particle physics. Spent 2 years with an AI building the thruster, and the AI was told it couldn't do anything that was already patented. So the artificial intelligence designed this novel way of creating thrust out of water. And we've sold it commercially, and we're now developing it further for the Air Force, and adding a fusion component to the exhaust, where we'll actually inject boron atoms into the exhaust and fuse those with the protons coming out of the ion system. And it'll create a fusion event. And it's great. In New Mexico now we get to talk about fusion. So we fuse a carbon atom that's unstable and decomposes into 3 alpha particles and gives us a little more oomph on the back end. So very new, very exciting, quite different.
Yeah, and that brings you right back home, right?
Exactly, yeah. And we were selected to be in the New Space Igniter. So we were one of the companies chosen to participate in that. And so they invited us back, and my dad lives 5 blocks from where we are right now. So I took laundry actually home for the first time since college that I needed to get done. It felt funny. My mom's no longer with us, but the laundry persists.
Well, we're so glad to have you back here in New Mexico.
Thank you.
Why don't you share with me? And Corrales Elementary, it's just down the road from where I live.
Yeah, what's it called now? Something else, isn't it?
No,
Sandoval
County?
It was Sandoval Elementary. When I went there, it was Sandoval.
It's Corrales Elementary.
Yeah, it's now Corrales. And we had all the people from Rio Rancho didn't even have a school when I lived there. And so we had all these New Yorkers who would come down and have to be bussed down from Rio Rancho. So I could do a Albuquerque, hey vato accent, and I could also do a Brooklyn accent at the same time. So I was well versed.
What an experience growing up, huh? So tell me, what do you feel like is one of the greatest takeaways that you're taking back with you after this?
From here, it's a kind of another. My experience in life has been to have a few ideas of things I want to do, and then generally not get there for quite a while, and then realize I'm getting there for some reason that's unexplainable. So I wanted to be involved in the military. I wanted to be a fighter pilot when I was a kid, going to elementary school here, go to the Air Force Academy, but I didn't have the eyes for it. So I ended up having that passion, and in 2003, I went into the Pentagon as a senior Pentagon official working in the Bush administration, eventually in charge of all the money in the Defense Department. So I went from being, no connections whatsoever to defense, just having a passion for it, to being prepared to do a job that was, a great job. I got to fly in a U-2 and go under the Arctic Circle in a nuclear submarine and fly F-18s and do all this stuff that most people, Elon Musk will never do all the things that I've done, no matter how much money he has, because my uncle has more and doesn't care about him. Anyway, it shouldn't be mean to me. But I understand that our friend Mr. Bezos is also a former Cibola high school person, as I am.
Yeah,
so
there's a lot of really interesting connections, right?
Yeah.
And honestly, all of that is one of the reasons that we started this podcast, because most people don't know these amazing stories about the incredible heritage and innovation here in the Southwest. So,
yeah, the only thing you didn't want to do then was compete in the science fair, because the kids in Los Alamos would literally kick your butt. I don't know if that's still the case, but it was when I was a kid.
Well, there's something to be said that Los Alamos is a special place still, right?
We did have San Diego.
I like to think there's a little more equity across the board as an educator myself. So.
I don't think it was the quality. I think it's the quality of the genes more so than the quality of the education.
Well, not only is, if you look at statistics and you appreciate those, you can see that just a month ago, news stats were released on the education here in our state, which it was not good news for us. We thought we were at the bottom of the barrel, and somehow we actually got lower.
Oh, wow.
But at the same time, New Mexico has the highest population of PhDs in the nation. So it's very, there's these contrary relationships of how do we create equity and opportunity. And I think space, that is your story, your personal story is encouraging, but there's so many great stories out there of people that are like you that have done incredible things. So
well, and let's get a few of them back in town.
Right. So
move to the East Coast, West Coast, or Austin, or whatever.
So you heard them earlier today. They were talking about all the things that New Mexico has to offer.
The only downside is we don't have a clear, unobstructed path into orbit without going over the state of Texas. Now, as a New Mexican, not too concerned about the people in Texas dealing with the debris, but probably the people in Texas would be concerned about dealing with the debris.
Possibly. I don't know. Can we do a different trajectory?
No,
well,
you gotta
come back
go
and help solve these problems.
Oh,
right?
okay. So you'll have to move us to the coast. See if we can do that. We'll annex the state.
Just tell me one thing that our audience, our listeners, could do to support you in your work.
I think the most important things for support, personally with the work we're doing, that's harder for individuals here to probably have a lot of help with. But I think the bigger ask is, continuing to push. I was a naysayer. I come back all the time, and when Governor Richardson proposed the spaceport, I was hee-hawing and gawking at that initiative. I thought it was silly and ridiculous and a ploy for his presidential campaign, which it probably was. But it's paid off. It's paid off. Yeah. I mean, I go to a lot of space conferences. Scott, the CEO of Spaceport America, McCaffrey, I forget it. I'm lost his past name. He shows up everywhere, and he's always kind of pitching for us and the state. And we're home of Air Force Research Lab, and we have with Goddard a wonderful heritage here. So I think it's just continuing for folks to have pride in that and push it. Like you said, we have two of the most preeminent national labs, great places and great facilities, and just continuing to take advantage of what's here in New Mexico. I think that would be the ask.
All right, one last question. Really, okay. The last question. You are New Mexico born and bred, so you will appreciate this. Red or green?
Christmas.
Everyone gets along. Okay. Thanks for your time today.
Thank you.
My name is Jeremy Grimmett. I'm CEO of Rogue Space Systems, and we build space robots. So think R2-D2. But we're doing that in real life. We're pretty focused on defense at the moment, but the goal is to leverage our technology for dual purpose for in-space servicing, orbital services, manufacturing, assembly, repair, things like that.
Awesome. How did you get into building space robots, Jeremy?
Oh, geez. Effectively, I wrote a research paper in school. And one of the statistics that I saw was that there was in 2017 or 2018, U.S. government reported almost 300,000 or estimated 300,000 potential debris strikes in orbit. And I was like, that's a problem. Something bad is going to happen one day. And so I started thinking, took a class on the space economy and new space ventures, things like that, and took the research paper plus the coursework that I was doing, and got some encouragement from some professors that I should try to kind of turn it into a business. And before I knew it, I was at the MIT Space Conference. Sat there for 8 hours on March 15th, 2019. I walked out, called my business partner at the time, told him I was selling the company and that I was going to space. And that was it that day.
Wow.
Did it on the way
You're a
home.
decisive guy.
Well, I like to believe Rogue is also pretty decisive. We don't really mess around. It's, once we make a decision, we're gone. That's it. We don't do a lot of deliberation. We get the information we need. We validate the due diligence, take care of things that we need to take care of. And once the decision's made, it's all out execution.
Excellent. Okay. Well, tell me, what's one of the greatest takeaways that you are packing up and taking home with you back to Rogue headquarters from this 2-day?
Well, I think one of the great things about this environment and the overall ecosystem is the community itself and a lot of the shared values. That is really what Rogue is built around, is community and values. One of our core focus is that we build community through purpose-driven innovation. That's kind of our mantra. And so Hyperspace, Q-Station, AFRL, they embody that capability. They embody that philosophy. And so it provides us an opportunity to get out here, talk to new companies, talk to new people, and bring people together. There's no fewer than 5 companies here that we're actively working with on STGRs or SBIRs or equipping their stuff in our spacecraft. So, I mean, it's a community, it's an ecosystem. So that's one of the best things that we can really take away from here.
Slightly unrelated, but related to my own passion. And as you, I believe you were here yesterday. Were you here yesterday?
John was here yesterday. Okay. I was actually at the Intertribal Space Conference in Oklahoma.
Yes.
That was fascinating.
Because my husband works with tribes and, always...
So I presented at the Intertribal, and there was a couple of things that I learned there, because I'm not intimately familiar with the tribal community, right? It's not my world, but it's something that frankly I've been passionate about, because I'm a big believer in getting help to underserved populations, underserved communities, yes. Because I myself came from an underserved population and community in deep South Louisiana. And sometimes there's certain areas inside of Louisiana, not that there's any comparison between Native Americans or the trials they went through versus my own. It's just the correlation of unserved populations, yes. And some of the related struggles. And Louisiana is one of those unserved, the poor of Louisiana is very intimately familiar to me, because that's how I grew up. And I've always sought a way to try to help that community. And I didn't know how to exactly. Right. I found out about the Intertribal Space Conference a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. And the second I heard that it was around Native Americans, that was it. I was like, we're on a plane, we're going. I don't care if it's 10 or 10,000 people, we're going to this, and they are going to know we're here to help. So that's what I did yesterday. Is I put out a press release about it. I kicked off some ideas on what we can actually do. Rogue is very much a company that we don't like talking about stuff. We like doing stuff. We will figure out what we're wanting to do, and then we execute. And that's what I brought to the Intertribal Space Conference yesterday. And I said, listen, this is what Rogue has. This is what we've accomplished. We are really good at building community. We're great at building partnerships and teams. This is what we do. Community through purpose-driven innovation. And we can incorporate you into this. We can help you set up mission operations. We can help you with AI&T. We can help you with this launch capability and downmass capability that you're looking to do. We want to help you create an ecosystem in the tribal community, because then you're self-sufficient. If you can do it yourself, right? If you can teach a guy to fish, right? Same basic concept. So we have training programs. We worked with the New Hampshire Community College system to propose and develop a satellite operator certificate program at a 2-year college. So we've injected this into the community college system. So now people can go from college or from high school and go get a certificate program. That's what we're working on. It's not instituted yet, hopefully really soon. But that is the goal, is to get people into space that who would not have otherwise gotten into space,
Right.
and open up that capability, open up that potential, and help everything from educate kids and help them understand that, space is just 100 kilometers up. There, in some cases, you're closer to space than you are the biggest city. And I know that's very true in the tribal community. So that is like something we got passionate about really fast, because this fits all of our core values. This is everything. And so the thing that I learned yesterday was that they, Native Americans and the tribes, they consider themselves caretakers. And I didn't know that. And that was my light bulb moment there. It's like, okay, they're trying to do something because that is just part of who they are. They take care of the environment. They take care of one another. And it started making sense of how they call one another brother and sister. And, it's, even if they're not related, they still call themselves uncles and aunts. And it was just absolutely fascinating. And it was a cultural education that just pulled me in even more.
Right.
And so we were just thrilled. I handed Dan the press release we wrote the press release yesterday, and we put it out yesterday, and it's going to be published on the wire over the next day. But, we did it right there at the conference because we really believe in what they're doing. And if there's a way that we can help bring these opportunities to those unserved communities, then we are going to do it. I can't wait. I'm like thrilled, really excited about the whole aspect.
I love that.
So,
well, there's lots we could unpack on that topic. I feel like maybe we need a full STEM Southwest podcast interview just with you, Jeremy, about some of this. But yesterday when I was here, I actually brought some of my students with me.
Oh, cool.
That are in my STEM leadership program.
Okay.
I've been coaching competitive robotics since 2005.
Oh, okay.
And so I am.
Is that in FIRST Robotics?
No, actually, it's in BEST and VEX.
Okay, yeah. I've heard of those. We're the FIRST Robotics is pretty big up in New England, and we actually had a couple of people go to a pretty big competition that was being held up there. So yeah, we're always seeking out those opportunities. When it comes to STEAM education, we include STEAM, and there's a differentiation between the STEAM and the STEM because you have that art component,
right?
And I'm keen on the STEAM because there's a certain amount of artistry and imagination that we all need that fuels the STEM, yes. Right? So even if you go look at some of the stuff that we design at Rogue, you will clearly see that there is a very artistic twist to it. Even the design of some of our spacecraft, they don't necessarily align with how you would normally see a spacecraft. And frankly, one of the mandates that I've given our advanced concepts group inside of Rogue is I told them, I was like, guys, I don't care if it's useless. I don't care. I want science fiction. I want that to look like something from 50, 100 years from now. That's what I want.
Right.
I don't care if it doesn't, because it's not just about the functionality. It's about sparking that imagination, because there's going to be a kid. There's going to be a kid. There's going to be an adult. There's going to be a young man, young woman from somewhere that's going to see that, and it's going to prompt their imagination. And that's the key. That's what unlocks everything that we're really capable of. And that's how I see it.
I love that. There's like such beauty in that in so many ways. But we know, like, the race for space began with so many people and their imaginations.
That's right.
And their dream. And one of the activities that we did yesterday with the students and the professionals in the room is we used an AI called Hallie. And they generated images that were pieces of art that represented, the future of space.
I've seen some of this.
Student, and it just resonates with me. So
I love the art component inside of the education programs, and we're not focused just on college or just on high school. We are really trying to get as early in the education cycle as we can. What we're working on back in New Hampshire is we've developed a bit of a program where it's going to be a matchmaking service. So we just met about this 2 weeks ago. We're very well connected within the space community and the aerospace space community. So we were like, you know what, if we try to kind of force this into the school system, that's not going to work. How about we do this? How about we put a one sheet that lists, hey, Dr. Jim Green, from former chief scientist of NASA, he's willing to talk to these grades about Mars. Dr. Such and such, another planetary scientist, this person, this colonel, this consultant, this person, all these people from the communities that these children would never have otherwise ever had any opportunity to speak to. And so if we put that into the system and say, look, you have these resources, all you have to do is call us, tell us the date and time. Now you can plan your entire curriculum around that. You want to talk about Mars, you want to talk about planets, I'm going to hand you one of the world's experts in planets. Right. We're going to hand it to you on a silver platter, and then the children can then directly engage with that expert, who can then get them excited about science, or get them excited about math or hypersonics or all these different things, Right. And we're going so far as building a coloring book, because we want to hand that out to the kids so that they can start thinking, okay, space is within the realm of possibility. Yes.
Yes. It's no longer that distant.
It's not this ethereal thing.
Exactly.
It exists. It's there, and you can actually get to it. It's not that far.
You can be part of it. Not
That's
even
right.
Just get there.
Right.
You can be part of shaping that.
Yeah. So it's a big passion of Rogue. And again, it goes all back to building community through purpose-driven innovation, because we believe great ideas will come from anywhere. And that's why one of our core values is ideas above self. We don't care where the idea came from. We just want the best idea. So as CEO, I have 100 really bad ideas a week. But every now and then there's like one good nugget in there. Right. And that's the same for a lot of the people that work in or outside of Rogue. We get emails. You can actually send ideas at rogue.space.
Oh, I love that.
Okay. So ideas at rogue.space, it actually goes straight to our engineering team. They take a look at it and they say, whether or not it's a good idea, bad idea, or maybe even explain why it may or may not work, because again, it's about the community. So we do all kinds of stuff because we really believe in the human capital side of this equation. The technology, in our opinion, is kind of the easy part. It's getting the right people to develop and put that technology together. That's the challenge. So that's how we do,
Wow. So much to unpack here. So many things to talk
we can
about.
always.
It's lunchtime. There's probably people out there like, it's time for lunch. Move on. But
no, it's all good.
Thank you for your time.
No, it's no problem whatsoever.
And sharing your passion.
No worries whatsoever. Happy to answer questions.
I need to get signed up for that newsletter myself.
I'm not hard to find.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jeremy.
Hey there, this is Shelley, and I am so glad that you have stopped by STEM Southwest. Can I ask a favor? If you've gotten some value out of our episodes, if you are just powered by nerd power and are excited about what we're doing, or if you're new to us and you've got just an interest, subscribe now to help us grow by doing that. Then take a moment and give us a review on iTunes or your favorite podcast player, because we could use your support and help. We are trying to raise up an army of STEM Southwest supporters. And then last, think about sharing our podcast with your friends, your families, or even complete STEM strangers, because, it's all about making the world a better place and having more STEM rock stars highlighted and connected. Stop by our website if you're looking for resources, and you're going to find a lot of things that's going to grow over time. So continue to stop on in and join us. Subscribe now and support STEMSW.com.
You've been listening to the STEM Southwest podcast. Nerd on, fellow STEM nerds.